He was talking
Wow.
about how his wife had left him. He had 2 kids, and how the wife's brothers showed up with machetes. African culture, right? And it was a traumatic experience for him, and how he thought he would never be able to love and trust again. And when we left off the mountain, he was like, you know what? I am going to try to, I think I gave up on a wife, but I think I'm going to go find one. Right. And so those are just 2 examples of just the power of like the mountain stripping you away, no distraction, being vulnerable with like-minded people that can hold space.
What if the biggest mountain you'll ever climb isn't made of rock, but it's the one inside you? Today, you're going to hear one of the most powerful stories we've ever had on the podcast. We talk about leadership, identity, depression, rebuilding your life. And before this episode ends, you're going to hear the story of a man who came back from climbing Kilimanjaro and admitted that experience actually saved his life. Man, that moment alone is worth staying for, and I still have goosebumps talking about it. This is the No Regrets Blueprint podcast. Well, welcome back, friends, to the No Regrets Blueprint podcast. Matt Levchenko, your host. I'll be your tour guide today, and I am excited for you to meet one of my good friends that we may get into this conversation. I met as Jay, and now today we have Sig.
No. It's
right?
it's a story. Yeah, it's an
it's a
interesting
story.
journey.
I loved your post about it, and we're going to get into that. But let me give everybody the good old bio background. And so Siegfried Tiegs is a retired U.S. Army major, 27 years of military service, a Forbes feature bestselling author of Life on Offense, a certified high-performance coach, and the founder of Do Hard Things Nation, a movement built around upgrading health, wealth, and relationships through mindset and movement. Sig leads adventure retreats up Mount Kilimanjaro, hosts the Do Hard Things podcast, and runs the Forge Mastermind for high achievers. His personal story is one of the most compelling you'll hear. A military career marked by discipline, service, a marriage that fell apart while he was still in uniform, a dark night of soul, and a complete rebuild, becoming the coach he once desperately needed. He now coaches high achievers to lead with grit, peace, and purpose. Mr. Sig, say hello to the world. Say hello to our group.
Hey, hello, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for having me on, Matt. I really appreciate it.
So you lead people up Mount Kilimanjaro. In fact, I think when I invited you to the podcast, you may have been like just coming off the mountain or getting onto a plane or something. You're like, I'd love to. When I get back on town. So like, it's not a metaphor. Like you're not just leading people up the mountain of their life story. It's like a literal mountain. So what happens when you strip a man away from his phone, his business, his routine, and throw him up to 19,000 feet with little to no air?
Oh, magic happens. It's become a framework that I teach. There's a 4-part framework for high achievers. And there's something about climbing a mountain, because once again, you're stripped away of everything. You are focused at the task at hand. And as humans, like biologically, we were designed to pursue something. And when you can pursue something with no distraction, and you're out there in Mother Nature, like you get really grounded to that internal, like just biology of who you are. And on a mountain, like you're faced with, there's a lot of challenges. It's difficult to breathe. You have to deal with the altitude, headaches, nausea. You're trying to get your gear. You're trying to get your team up there. The weather changes. I mean, you're going through like a Kilimanjaro. It's 5 ecological zones. So you start off in t-shirt and shorts, and then you end up at the very top and it's like below zero, and you gotta navigate all the gear, and it's a multi-day expedition, and it's uncomfortable. But you're also out there in nature, disconnected. For the people that I take up there, almost all of them are business owners. And for many of them on this last trek, it was like, can I even leave my business behind? Is it going to run without me? I'm like, well, this is a great systems check for your business. And they were really nervous about that. And what they found was it was so fulfilling for them, the things that they learned about themselves on the mountain, they took it off the mountain, and it was transformative for their business, for their family, for every other life arena in their life. It was just a net positive improvement. And they had this epic adventure, like, that that's time that they could have spent in their business that would have been forgettable. They'll always remember this trip to Kilimanjaro. So there's that is the classroom, and that's what I'm doing more of. Like, I do a lot of my training in a classroom or Zoom. But when I was in the military, we would do field training exercises. That's really where you can really make marked improvement for a soldier's development. And I'm like, well, I just felt like I was called to do something similar, a field training exercise with high achievers. And what better way than to literally climb a mountain?
What what are some of the biggest transformations you've seen on that mountain for those that have come along the journey with you?
The biggest one, about a few weeks after we came back, one of our party members confided that this was going to be their last hurrah and they were going to tap out. And for the
Wow.
first time in their life, they were able to open up and confide in their challenges. Because this isn't just an adventure tour. Like, we are opening up every day and doing some deep work. Before dinner, like, we open up, like, hey, we do a check-in and a check-out. Like, how are you feeling spiritually, emotionally, physically? Very first couple days, it's like, "Oh, my feet hurt, I got blisters." By the end of it, like, we're talking about, like, yeah, my dad, when I couldn't meet his expectations growing up, and I was on the mountain thinking about this, and how it's affected my life. Like, it gets deeper every single day. And with everyone getting vulnerable, by everyone putting their armor down and being in a safe space. I don't like how that term's been kind of butchered. But that's really what it is. It's a space where you can be seen, heard, and understood. That's like, our for humans, that's we want to be seen, heard, and understood, and to be not judged, and to have that space to where we can open. It was so powerful that this individual was able to confide on the back end. Even our so when we're there, we have Sherpas and guides from
Mhm.
Tanzania. Our mountain guide was like, "I've never experienced anything like this before." And there was one day where he zipped the tent closed. He's like, "Let me share with you my story." And he was talking
Wow.
about how his wife had left him. He had 2 kids, and how the wife's brothers showed up with machetes, African culture, right? And it was a traumatic experience for him, and how he thought he would never be able to love and trust again. And when we left off the mountain, he was like, "You know what? I am gonna try to I think I gave up on a wife, but I think I'm gonna go find one," right? And so those are just 2 examples of just the power of, like, the mountain stripping you away, no distraction, being vulnerable with, like-minded people that can hold space. And it was far more. I didn't expect it to get that deep, but it gets that deep.
No, for
Powerful.
wow, for sure. I'm like, man, just hearing that, like, gives me goosebumps. So, take us back to, like, where all this began for you. Like, you've got a pretty interesting journey. Like, where did this start? How did you come to this point? And then we're gonna get into some of your own personal transformation stories.
Well, how far back do you wanna go?
Well, like catch us up to speed to where you began to start seeing, like, the need or the requirement to do something like the Do Hard Things Nation, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, the do hard things mantra for me, I mean, it started back in high school. I came from a broken home. I'm first generation American. My father is where I got the name Siegfried. I was Siegfried Tiegs. And I was born in the United States. My father was German, my mother was Dutch. They were living in California. It's how they met. Immediately after I was born, they moved back to Germany, just trying to make ends meet. They stayed there for about 5 years. They moved back to California. And so here I was, this kid that had like a German accent. My parents dressed me funny because they dressed me in German clothes and lederhosen. I stuttered really bad and I was goofy and I was named Siegfried. So the kids just teased me relentlessly. I hated my name. And my father, I mean, he grew up during World War II, so he had some trauma, and he was physically abusive to myself and my mother. My mother had some mental health issues. So my home life was hell. And then I go to school and get teased by kids. So my upbringing it was just really challenging. My mother was my father's fourth wife, and just like all the other relationships that ended, he ran off with another woman. My mother having mental health challenges, I my father took me with him. That's how I ultimately ended up in Missouri. So I grew up north of St. Louis. He ultimately that relationship ended, and I was adopted. My last name became Emmert, and I grew up bouncing around towns. We were very poor, and I bounced around towns. So as soon as I could join the military, I did. Many people that join the military are running from something or towards something. I was trying to close out a chapter of my life. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I can make a life for myself in the military. So I joined the military. Long story short, I mean, I thrived. I mean, I ran track and cross country in high school. That do hard things mantra. I had a coach that looked out for me, invited me to the team. That's what inspired me to keep my grades up. And by running, I mean, it changed my life. I still run today. Like it's been so ingrained in me by that grit, like doing something hard day in and day out. My life was infinitely better. It kept my grades up. And it translated nicely to the military. You know, I hit the ground running and literally running. I was able, like, went to Fort Leonard Wood. I ran with some of like for the post team, and I made friends, and I was just it set the conditions to be a really good soldier. And I found like, hey, I found success here. And so I started in the guards. So as soon as I was able to, I joined active duty. And I'm like, okay, I can close the chapter of my childhood, and I can make something of myself here. And that's what I did. I just kinda kept my head down, and I was a really good soldier. I was really, I mean, the Army is actually fairly simple. They give you uniforms, they tell you where to be, show up, give 100%, and you'll make it. And over time, you know, they give you more and more leadership positions, they dump more stuff on you. Really good at that. What I wasn't good at was relationships, you know, so when I got married and the military being a tough lifestyle, you know, that led to a divorce. One divorce led to 2 divorces, and I there was aspects of my life that I didn't handle well. And in 2015, this is about, you know, after some military deployments, a lot of challenge, my wife and I had triplets along the way. I hit a really dark point in 2015. I was tired. I was just burnt out. The longer you stay in the military, the more rank that you make, you know, just the more stress you have. I was wearing a mask, high performer at work. I mean, I was,
Mm.
you know, getting ready to take command, and I didn't want to. That's like the highlight of usually a soldier's career, especially as an officer, is taking command. I didn't want to jeopardize that. But deep down inside, like, I was miserable. I wasn't connected to my wife. I had a lot of
Mm.
emotions. You know, as a man, you just suck it up, and you don't, you know, we don't, and I think all of those things from childhood and military just kind of bubbled up. And it was an organization where you didn't seek help. I grew up in a time in the military where seeking therapy could be a career ender, or you were just perceived as weak, or I'm so busy, I don't even have time to break away to go see a therapist. But I had my dark night of the soul moment where I had some deep depression, suicide ideation. I'm like, I can't live like this anymore. It's gone on too long. Like, and I need help. And so I found myself in therapy. I found myself taking some SSRIs. They just weren't working that well.
Yeah.
And in desperation, I'm like, okay. I just inventoried like people that were really successful in life, civilians and military. What are they doing that I'm not doing? Many of them were readers. Many of them were like going to church. Many of them were like just taking care of their overall health. I mean, I was an athlete, but I was also drinking beer and numbing out, you know,
Yeah.
and just bad habits. And then I wasn't reading, and so I had some. The common theme was they were all reading personal development books. I opened one up, and I'm like, oh, this is. I think it was yeah, the Slight Edge, like your habits, your
Yep. Yep.
we in singles, basic habits. Like, okay, well, if I just read 10 pages of a book a day, right, my life will be better. I started doing that. One book led to the next, led to the compound effect, led to another book, led me down a path of finding a coach in a men's group. And once again, the same thing of like high school, like, hey, a coach, other like minded people getting after it, changing my habits, like doing those hard things, right? And that like just revolutionized, just transformed my life for that season of life. It was so profound that as an instructor in the military and a mentor, I'm like, you know, I'm highly educated. I have a couple master's degrees, but no one is teaching me the things that I needed that I got from coaching and being around other high performers living that type of lifestyle. And so I'm like, you know what? I need to do this. And that's where I ultimately fell into Brennan Burchard's program, became a certified high performance coach, and started kind of moonlighting teaching these things while I was still in the military. And then when I actually retired from the military, I learned all the tools. I've been teaching the tools, but then once again, I hit another dark night of the soul because now it's like my identity is gone. But this time I had the tools to lean on. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to double down on these tools. I'm going to get a coach. I'm going to figure out who I am and what I want to do, connect the dots. And that led me down an even darker rabbit hole of like, I did some other alternative therapies, and I went deeper in coaching, and I was called to take people out on adventure. And I ultimately went on a coaching adventure trek that led me to Machu Picchu. And I would say that was a very spiritual experience for me. And It was a 6-day trek to Machu Picchu. So every day you're hiking and you're doing deep work. And I wanted to learn how to do this because I wanted to incorporate this in my own practice. But it was during that journey where we wrote this very powerful just document called the manifesto, which is like it's like a purpose statement on steroids. You're looking at every life arena, stripping away everything and getting clear on who you are. And around the table, we were kind of bearing our soul, they noticed I was always talking about being a peaceful warrior. Like I have a warrior spirit in my heart. That's just 27 years in the military. I just always have that. I have that today. Like I'll, rip your head off, right? But I will also love you. Like I will give you the shirt off my back, right? I'll protect
Mhm.
the innocent. I will risk my life to protect the innocent. I'm a peaceful warrior, but I have not had the peace that I was looking for. And then one of my coaches was like, "Well, you hate your name Siegfried. Like, do you know?" Am I still here? I hit a
Yeah, you're
button and
here.
I thought I left
No,
the.
you're good.
I left.
I see you.
Okay, cool. She's like, she's German, and she's like, Do you know what Siegfried means?" I'm like, "Well, it's this name that my parents and I hated it, and I know that the German kids know about Siegfried, the dragon slayer." She's like, "Yeah, all German kids know about Siegfried, who saved Brunhilde. He was the ultimate peaceful warrior. He's like the Superman of like, German lore." And it clicked like, you know what? That the thing that I'd been looking for, like I was named for that. Like it was inside of me the entire time. I've been chasing, Siegfried. I named myself Jay when I got adopted. I didn't have a middle name. I just didn't want to be teased anymore. And there were a lot of Johns in my family. I'm like, well, just name me Jay. I'll just go by that, right? But Jay was like the little boy inside of me that didn't like navigate life very well. Jay was the little kid that just the petulant little child that just needed to be loved, but he was running the show. Siegfried was the grounded, peaceful warrior. And it was also that moment like, I don't care what other people think of me. Like, Jay was just trying to fit into the crowd. Jay was easy. Jay was like, get back in your invisible box because we as humans do that to other people. And I wasn't living boldly or authentically me. And I'm like, I am the peaceful warrior. I am Siegfried. That is my God given name. I'm going to embrace that. And so that's what I did, and so when I came back, it was kinda awkward. It was like, "Oh my gosh, I gotta tell everyone I'm gonna take Siegfried." And I just had a lot of, like, just old memories and thoughts, but as I have done that and I've shared that story, people are like, "Wow, that takes a lot of, lack of better term, a lot of balls to step back into that and embrace that fully." But I feel more myself and more powerful and more full now than ever because that's who I am, and I was trying to run away from that. I was playing small.
How have things changed for you internally and externally now with this new acceptance?
I just feel grounded. I feel at peace. I feel like I'm in alignment with my purpose and I feel like I feel just more like in flow. And I've surrendered every time that I've deviated. There's a few moments where I was kind of deviating from this coaching path because entrepreneurship is hard and getting this mission started. But every time I deviated, I just felt a calling back to it. I felt like I'm spiritual, so God pulling me back. It's also enabled me to reestablish a relationship with God because I was so disconnected. Had some weird things growing up. You mix people and religion, it got weird for me. But I know
Mhm.
that I have this knowing that there's a higher power, and I've just surrendered to His will, and it's given me tremendous peace and power and calm. Once again, I feel like a peaceful warrior. Like I am grounded. Like like samurai and like you think of the Native American tribes and warriors, like they had a process for, you go to battle and you come back and you filter in back into your family. We have a problem in our veteran community. Like the Americans, we have a tremendous military, some of the most powerful warriors ever, but we don't have a good system of, it's like when you leave the military, it's like, here, you need to get the highest disability rating you can and get on the government dole. And here's all your bag of medicine I get from the VA every day. And it's like this labeling of being broken. Had to overcome that. Like mentally, it's like just a mind screw. I don't know where I'm going with this, but that was part of my own finding myself, is like I was feeling really weird about my service. And then with all the things that have happened, like historically, like connecting the dots, looking back, I'm like, I
Sure.
don't really feel good about this.
Yeah.
And now I'm like labeled as broken and dysfunctional, and I'm taking all these medicines. It's just, it was really strange to me. but tapping in and researching and engaging in some of these old warrior principles of like, like I got a train in breath work. And this is part of like the journey, the hero's journey of taking someone up a mountain. Like it's like it's a misogi, right? Misogi is doing something that in the process of doing it, it changes you.
Yes.
Machu
Yeah.
Picchu was a misogi. I've been doing misogis most of my life, not really knowing what that was, but that's what Machu Picchu was. That is what Kilimanjaro is. Like, you might fail in the attempt of it, but you change in the process of it. You don't find yourself on the summit, you find yourself, like, on the way up. There's nothing at the summit, it sucks up there. That's ultimately where you wanna go, but the changing happens in the day-to-day grind on the way there, even before you leave the country, like, on the way, and it's incredible, and so delivering like, taking people on a Misogi adventure, that's the classroom.
I love that, and you share a couple things. I mean, it's so interesting how parallel, like even though our stories couldn't be more different, and yet there's so many parallels. And I trust that whoever's listening is also hearing and experiencing these parallels. I'd like to spend a little bit more time having conversation around how you're navigating, your personal relationships, because your story you mentioned earlier, in the Army, your 27-year career, it's built on structure, mission, and sacrifice. And so, how did the same identity that made you a great soldier contribute to the downfall and the breakdown of your relationships?
That's a good question. Being in the military, like, there's some things that I have learned that have been very useful, but things that that's part of I'm in my new operational environment that I've gotta change. One, being very direct in communication. Like, I'm very direct and I have a high volume level, and it specifically serves a purpose to command and be very direct to get people to execute. But when I talk to my children this way, it created a rift. Like, they're like, "Whoa, like, dad's intense." I don't and it's still a challenge today. I've tempered it a lot, but sometimes my wife will give me, like, the little nudge, like, "Hey, you're," and I appreciate that because it's like, "Okay, I've got to change to my operational environment." But 27 years of service in that environment, like, that was just the normal. That was the culture, right? But it showed up in my personal life. It showed up in my personal relationships. I think veterans, when we get out of service, we're just like, civilians, because it's hard for us to fit in. But then we end up in a little bubble, and we have a very dark sense of humor, and we are very loud and boisterous. But it keeps us from we put ourselves in a bubble, and then we feel lonely. And I
I
think one of the oh, go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go.
Yeah, one of the greatest things, there are a lot of veteran service, like, organizations out there to help veterans, like, reintegrate, but the thing that I have learned about that is that we're kind of doing them a disservice because we're keeping them in their bubble. I got connected in some men's groups where it was entrepreneurs and other men, and once again, here's the thing, the gentleman that shared with us his dark thought after leaving Kilimanjaro, everyone there was a veteran except for him. He was the only civilian. And he's like seeing the interaction of the veterans. We're all business owners. And it gave him the courage to like open up because he saw how we interacted. Right. So there's a usefulness of veterans being connected with civilians and vice versa. Like going through these men's groups, I was able to like, that's how he sees the world. That's how I see the world. And we share. But when you're put in a bubble, you don't get that experience. Is that I don't know if I've been you've been asking me questions and I kinda go off on little tangents. I don't know if I'm
No, it's super good. So let me jump into, you brought up a couple times this term, the dark night of the soul. What does that actually look like for someone like you who's been trained his entire career to push through and never quit?
Yeah, well, I think the dark night of the soul, I think I don't know
And
if
where does that
everyone
come from? Is that like a saying? Like,
it's
did
like
you coin
it's like
that?
a woo term, I would call it. It's like something like in coaching circles, they talk about it, more people that are spiritual. It's like, when you are at rock bottom. Like I say the dark night of the soul, it's almost like, it's the deepest, hardest times of your life. Like, the moment that like, for me, it's like when I literally had the thought and the plan to end it, like, facing that moment, or the moment where my wife said, "I want a divorce," and this time I knew that she meant it. Like, those are the dark nights of the soul where it's like, I'm at rock bottom. How am I going to get out of this? And everyone, the unique thing about our experiences as humans, I think we all have them in some way, shape, or form. And some that for some people they're earlier in their life. For some people, it could be later in their life. It could be the death of a parent. It could be, you lose everything in the 2008, economic collapse. Like it shows up in various forms. I think it's spiritual. I think we all have a cross to bear. I think it's the ultimate test. So when I say dark night of the soul, that's what I mean. It's like that. You just think that the whole world has ended and you got to crawl your way out of rock bottom.
So how did you crawl out?
It was either tap out or crawl out. And I chose to crawl out because my daughters needed me. And it was that inventorying of, well, who can I look up to? Like radical change. Like I obviously need radical change. Well, that requires radical change. So I have got to shake up like what I'm doing in life just isn't working out. So what do I need to do differently? And that led me to like, well, I'm swirling the drain here. Like I think we can end up looping. And sometimes you just need someone to pull you out. And I had to find that person that could help pull me out. And that's where that's where I think that's why coaching I think is so powerful. Someone that can help you like lift you up, or having that rope team of people that can help pull you up. I had to find that. I had to build that. I had to create that. I didn't have that, but I found it. I was blessed to muster up enough energy to be like, okay, I can figure this out. I've been through a lot of hard stuff in my life. This is no exception, but this is the hardest thing. How can I rebuild from here? And I no longer want to be this person. It's almost like a shedding of the skin. It's like I'm crawling out, but I'm going to leave this version behind me because it's no longer serving.
So you you became a certified high performance coach, right? And in your journey, you even wrote your book, Life on Offense. What does living on offense mean for a man who's trying to rebuild his marriage, his health, and his business at the same time?
Yeah, it's intentional living. It's living with a plan. It's living by, I mean, you can live on offense or you can be on defense. I think most people are just reactive to life. The heart is a framework. It's the four pillars of your life. It's health, affluence, relationships, and development. And it's doing something daily to improve your health, your physical health and your mental health. It's doing something every day where you're building wealth, affluence. Money just gives you more freedom and more options. Doing something to enrich relationships. The greatest human desire is to feel loved and appreciated. So doing something where you're connecting with other people. And then development. I mean, Tony Robbins will say, if you're not growing, you're dying. And it's true. If you're not growing, you're not developing yourself and having those experiences, then I think that you start to you'll start to wither. So living on offense, it's in the military. The United States military is a very offensive military. Like we are on the move. If you're moving forward, you have control of the battlefield. The defense in U.S. Army doctrine is the defense is described as a momentary pause in the offense. That's how offensive minded we are. It's a momentary pause to resupply so you can get back on the offense as quickly as possible. When you do that, you control the tempo, you can control time and space. When you're on defense, it's like you're just waiting and you're just reacting, right? And you can live your life like that. People that aren't, when they're letting their health go, like they're not working out like they know they need to. They look at health as like a hobby, like stamp collecting. Like you're into running, like you're like Pokemon cards. No, I look at health like hygiene. Like I brush my teeth every day. I tell my kids brush the teeth you want to keep. Well, my health and wellness is a non-negotiable, right? But some people look at it as like a hobby. Well, that's living on defense versus living on offense, right? It's the same with your finances. Are you in control of your finances? Are you doing something? Or are you just like letting this whatever happen? Same with your relationships. Some people are just like, well, my friend pool is just the people I'm assigned at work. That I have this job, and the boss hires people, and those are my friends. I hang out with them after work. Instead of like, I feel there's a lot of high performers like, well, I feel lonely, and I'm tired of the surface level conversation with people. Well, I'm like, well,
Yeah.
go build your table. Like, go create an event and bring other people that you admire to you and have the conversation. That's living on offense versus defense. And it's the same with development. So those are the mindset differences. It's like how you attack life.
That's so cool. And I love the concept of, find your tribe, and if it's not there, create it, build it, attract it.
Yeah. Yeah,
attract to it.
because of the
Man,
leadership, lead it.
yeah, I,
Yeah.
that it's interesting how many people come and say, "Well, I'm not getting what I want." And I said, "Okay, well then be what you need, right? Be what you need and start attracting the people that want the same thing that you want. Next thing you know, you got a community."
Yeah.
That's awesome. So for the man who's listening at home right now and he's high performing at work, but he's quietly losing ground everywhere else. What's the one thing he's probably telling himself that's keeping him stuck?
Most guys that I work with, there's a what are they telling themselves? Many of them, many of them like they're like wearing a mask. Like many of them are high performing, and they might be like, "Well, I don't need help," or I would be weak if I sought help." Their ego keeps them in this loop, and it's weird because many of them are like they're putting their best foot forward on social media. They're comparing themselves to others. They're putting up this front, but like they're short with their wife behind the scenes, or they're kind of miserable on a they can't relax on a Sunday afternoon. They're wearing a mask because we've been programmed that we don't talk about our feelings or we don't ask for help. And I just think that the most courageous thing that you can do is identify that and ask for help and realize that you're not alone in that feeling. But if all men are like if I find that many men are just they were conditioned by their father or grandfather that we just roll up our sleeves and we go to work, we don't talk about our emotions. And I just don't think that's healthy. I don't think it's healthy. And if you're feeling stuck or alone, you've got to connect with other men. I think men need to connect with other men and have that place to put their armor down and be vulnerable and be open and share their challenges and be seen and heard and not judged.
No, I agree there. Like, where do you think that comes from? Because it's really prevalent, and I see it in my parents and their generation and like beyond. And like, where is that resistance to getting help before you need it? Right. Like, so for instance, I had a conversation with my parents about stuff in our family. Like, we call, we don't go to therapy. We go to coaching. Everyone that like, here's the thing, business leaders will spend thousands of dollars on coaching for their business, and they're super intentional with how they run their businesses. And for whatever reason, that intentionality drops when it has to do with managing their personal relationships and their own physical and mental health, right? Or you'll pay thousands of dollars for a physical trainer when the one thing that might be holding you back from unlocking everything are the bullshit stories you keep telling yourself that are true that aren't, or the fears and the limiting beliefs that you've now turned into a personality as opposed, right? Like what like where do you feel like that comes from, and how do you help people shed those masks or those stories that no longer serve them?
I think it comes from I think a lot of it's pride and ego, and maybe it's handed down generationally. Like if you look at the men before us, the generation that I mean, my father, who was older, I mean, he grew up during World War II, and there's a lot of men that grew up during that time period. And then in our society, we had Vietnam, and so these men were like thrown into this at a very early age and had these challenges. And I don't think they were taught how to navigate emotions. They were just taught to like suck it up, right? Their father before them like came from like the depression. You just work hard and it was grit and discipline. We have so much comfort around us now that's challenge, right? And so we avoid that by numbing out. But no, I don't think anyone has taught us how to have these conversations or invited us to be open. And I think our pride and our ego keeps us from doing that. And then with everyone on social media putting their best foot forward, it's just like, man, maybe something's wrong with me. Like everyone seems to be crushing it but me. And to your point about, yeah, I'll invest a lot in coaching, but then my personal life is I mean, maybe it's a negative connotation toward therapy. I mean, I definitely had that as well. Like, ooh, therapy. And I mean, to be quite honest, what I like about coaching versus therapy is like I'm invested in it, where I felt like in the system that I grew up with therapy, it was provided for free by the VA. And the person there, they don't care if there's no incentive for them to get me better. But I've had coaches that specialize in some trauma therapy, but they need to get me results or I'm not going to pay them. And that's a challenge for them. So we're both incentivized. I'm paying them a good amount and they're incentivized. So there's an energy exchange there that's happening where we get results. Where I think as a lot of Western way, it's popping pills and then talking to a therapist. There's some great therapists out there, but I've had some not so great ones, and I didn't feel like they were pushing me and they didn't care. They gave me a homework assignment, but they wouldn't ask me to follow up. Like it was just not good training or it wasn't a good exchange of energy. So I think it's a culmination of things.
I think you really touched on something that's valid, and just as there are not so effective coaches
Hmm.
in the space, you've got the gurus and you've got you know, the coaches that look good on social and they don't really have any receipts to back it up. And then, yeah, I think you also you're going to find different levels of therapy. I think that the searching for the right type of therapist or family coach or personal coach, if you will, is key, is critical, right? So let's talk about like, so what does life look like for you now? Like what are the biggest positive outcomes that you can attribute to the work that you've been doing these last few years in civilian life and post-military life? Like what what are you proud of?
I'm proud of the fact that I didn't quit, that I stayed on the journey because the more that I've engaged with people and the more work that I have done, I'm skilling up as a coach and therefore I'm guiding clients to get better results. I look at myself as a mountain guide, even as my coaching journey, like the creating a space for the clients to have the tools to build the tools and to push themselves. Like I just guide them and they show up and do the work. And then to have the breakthroughs, like to be vulnerable enough to be like, hey, I need help, right? And to create those opportunities to safely take a group of people up to Machu Picchu, to I don't know, I feel like sharing that story and connecting people with the story has been so transformative for people. I mean, I love helping purpose-driven leaders that have a big engine unlock themselves, because when they can do that, like I have one client I'm working with who he's from Sri Lanka, and because he is now getting out of his own way, him and his wife, they're high income earners. They just fed like 1,000 Sri Lankan children. They just cut a check, and he were sending me photos of like all these kids that literally have nothing, and they've got these meals that they can eat, right? And he wants to do more work there. I'm like, I had a small part in like this man's journey where he can tap into his purpose and use his gifts to serve others. And I find that most of the clients that I work with, it's not about the watches and the Lamborghinis and the sports cars. Yes, they want nice things, but it's the purpose driven leaders that want to give, grow, and gain and do impactful things. And to be able to unlock them so they can do that or have better relationships with their wife or their kids, or to have more peace in their life and getting them connected spiritually again. That that is the mission. Like that is like I get goosebumps just thinking about it, and almost I get emotional because it's such a beautiful thing to be able to do that. To be able to share my hardships and stories to guide someone to unlock themselves so they can give, grow, and make an impact on humanity. If we want kindness in the world, we got to sprinkle that shit everywhere. We got to unlock people to get that, right? And so I don't know if that. I mean, there's been so many like instances of I just view my work as like it's spiritually connected, and by helping them, like they can just pour into others and we're making the world a better place, which is amazing.
I'm here for it, man. No, that your energy around it's perfect. I love it. Last question here for you, right? You built the Do Hard Things Nation into a movement. What does legacy mean for you now? Like not military legacy, not your business legacy, but personal legacy, the one that matters most.
I mean, I want to create a brand that's not about me. Like I'm at the face of it, and I'm also being in the coaching industry. There are a lot of really good coaches out there that are trying. They have a good heart and they want to break free. They want to break in and do some work. And so creating, I mean, obviously a community of men that have unlocked themselves and changed their family tree. Number one, right? Getting connected spiritually and changing their family tree. But then also helping these coaches, getting them unlocked so they can do their work. You know, I see like a bench of coaches on the team, or helping other coaches just break free and getting more people connected. I used to think life coaching was like a silly thing. Like the term was like, just really a life coach? What are they going to teach me? It's been so transformative, and more people need to experience a good life coach. But it's breaking them free too to be able to do that work. So obviously, I want my kids to be fully functional, amazing Americans and humans and have a good life. I want to continue to have adventures and just grow in my relationship with God and my wife. And I just want to help unlock purpose driven leaders and then help other coaches continue this long after I'm gone.
Right on. How can someone who resonates with this conversation get in touch with you? How can they find out more? Where can they find you all your stuff?
I mean, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. Those are the two primary. I'm on TikTok a little bit too. Siegfried Tiegs. Look me up. I got a very unique name, so you just Google me. You'll find me. And then Do Hard Things Coaching is probably this is my latest site that I've updated. DoHardThingsCoaching.com. And then you can find Life on Offense. It's on my website, or you can go to Amazon for learn more about the story. And yeah, just thank you so much for having me on today, Matt. I appreciate
Yeah,
the work
dude.
that you're doing. And
Oh man, no, it's like you said, it's just a small drop in the bucket. If I get a chance to facilitate the conversation, if there's somebody out there that has been considering the tap out, right? Because I think that conversation's not spoken about enough, and there's a huge problem around that. Man, reach out, talk to somebody, talk to Jay, talk. I'm sorry, Sig. I'm gonna break that. It's been
it's okay. It's even on my book. It's quotations. Yeah, I've got another book I'm going to write, but I'm going to leave that there. So it's all good.
yeah. No, I'm so talk to Sig, connect. Like, don't let that thought overwhelm and overtake. Right. Awesome, man. Listen, I can't thank you enough. We'll definitely have to have you back when the next thing that you're doing comes out. I know that you're always building, creating, pushing, doing hard things, right? So, for those of you again who are tired of winning on paper and losing everywhere else in life, you are part of the right conversation. Don't forget to subscribe so you can be part of more conversations moving forward. And if you want to do deeper work, you want to dive into the blueprint, you can go to noregretsblueprint.com to really start building a life of no regrets. Till next time, guys, we'll talk soon.